that's pretty similar to a lot of the topics. Even it's mentioned almost every day. Something along the lines of settling, like the adulting, was brought up this morning with others. It was brought up. I was with grandma the other day. It was brought up with her. Just about how she was talking about like just the most typical thing of that you could possibly imagine of somebody's like this person just needs some place like a place of her own, like a steady job, whatever, not to be baby, not to be spoiled, etc., so that she can sit down and then be on her own and like learn to be there, and she'll get some time and then she'll like settle down. But then the person she was talking about, I won't mention them, but they're kind of the typical person where their state of mind, etc., would not let them settle.
Yeah.
So even if all of those conditions were met, the person is not
something.
here. Yeah.
There's always something that's not in the present that's an issue.
Like it's based on this plays so much more factor than this, that when everything is perfect, if the person who they are is not settled, nothing matters. They will not be settled. So and give them all the perfect situations, and hence like the most wealthy, well-to-do, etc., people in the perfect places have just as many problems with their lives that they can point out as the people who have like nothing going on. They're like their lives are in shambles. Like it's because they're equally in shambles here, like where it matters, the heart and mind. Yeah.
Yeah, that settling thing. It's like it really is looking at conditions first and foremost.
It's weird how obvious it is too. Like you look at conditions and it's like that makes sense. But then just as they explained with grandma and as we explained to dad or whoever, is talk about like the one thing or another, etc. And then it's like once they see it, then it's like, oh right, yeah, I guess because of who they are, they would not settle.
Yeah.
It's like
it is like
this is always the way it is.
It is like mind matters most, and the needed flip to have that happen, and just people like, because it's the obvious thing that people get sucked into if they're not aware that physical stuff is like important or whatever, then and how many people are pointing out the opposite, so
which is just as obvious as if you stub your toe and your toe is bleeding, there's kind of a problem there and it's something to deal with. It is just that is no more obvious than your mind matters more than anything else. As soon as you see that, they're both so obvious. So like they just need to settle down and have all these things and have like a little place of their own and not have like other people taking care of her things, and then she'll figure it out. And then to be like, no, who she is will not let her figure things out no matter what conditions you give her. She has things to work on within herself regardless of that stuff, and she's not going to go. And then that makes sense. Who they are isn't going to let them. Like, it's so obvious. Right away. Like, both extremes are completely obvious, but nobody looks at that one because the toe bleeding is so much more apparent than somebody is generally moving through life constantly mildly disturbed. One of them is there's blood dripping on the floor. Unless mild stirring constants.
Well, I was gonna say, unless you label it and it's like, they have this disorder or something.
Put it in a box.
Put it in a box.
The box was ripped back.
But then, but actually, not even, because it's like there's so many disorders now.
Yeah, that's just the stirring.
It's just it doesn't matter. It doesn't like make them real, it doesn't change anything to give them millions of boxes.
Saying it,
you don't really think differently about that person because of that or whatever.
Even saying
it's not less obvious.
If they had these things and like this perfect scenario of circumstances that like they would end up having all the resources they need, everything from time and space and objects and everything provided for them, but just enough provided for them, then they're not spoiled, and like just the perfect situation in every possible way, then they'll be fine. It's like, you really really, this is the mentality that like
Yeah.
almost everybody on the planet for some reason has, and it's like, are you sure? Take one moment to look at that, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh no. If throw any single person on the planet into the perfect circumstance, like absolutely perfect. They like horses. There's a picture of horses on the wall. There's like just the perfect circumstance.
Yeah.
It's catered to every single individual on the planet. Then they'll be fine. Like that's the mentality that people have about just how they're going about life, and it's like, no.
Yeah,
Very
it's
clearly
really
no.
Yeah, what else do you say? Like really, it is just like
It's just
no.
really, this is what you're all thinking, and yeah, it's nuts. And this is the mentality that people go about their lives with, and why everyone's so flip floppy and so unsettled and so stirring,